Hello, everyone. Welcome back to The Point. We are bi-weekly webcast on Mondays at 6 p.m. Pacific Time, 8 p.m. Central Time, 9 p.m. Eastern Time. To uh, Our mission is to bridge the gaps between the nail communities and to raise the bar within the nail industry. And not to waste any of your time, I'm just going to jump right into some of the news that I have received in the past couple of days. On March 3rd, Tam Nguyen is the president of Advanced Beauty College, and many other associations hosted a touching tribute to those who lost their lives and loved ones during COVID-19. For that means it has been 1 year, and to stop Asian hate in Fountain Valley, California, and the location was shared among the people who got invited, including me. But I just don't want to share it. And if you want to see the location, please search up for the on Google to find it yourself. And then also tomorrow, March 23rd, is going to be another huge event. It's called Stop All Hate, Stop Asian Hate at Community Central Park in Garden Grove, California, to light up candles for the victims who tragically lost their lives in Atlanta the past week. And according to the latest report this Monday, the hate crime toward Asian Americans in Orange County goes up to 1,200% at the moment. And then in LA County is 115%. San Jose is 150%. With Asian hate crimes and harassment rise during the pandemic. We will be listening to our special guests today to share their insights and experience with discrimination and what can we do to protect our future of our community. And okay, Tan, I want you to take over to bring our special guest in.
Hello, everyone. Again, thank you for joining us. Now, if you guys are watching this, please take a moment of your time to share this post. Let's spread the love and make sure we take some time to be able to spread the awareness against Asian hate. Right? How today's topic is about how did Asian hate evolve? How did it even come about? What did it get started? Why did it get started? The questions when I was in the military, I said, where have you been? Where are you going? And why are you here? The question today, though, folks, is how did Asian hate evolve? So, with our special guest, I want to bring on and thank you, Kenny Vo, and also Adele Pham for coming on and sharing their insight and their expertise and their experiences on how they felt as being an Asian, and have they experienced any sense of hate that throughout their I guess their lives here in the U.S. So guys, please come on, introduce yourself. Let's start with Kenny. Come on and share with us who you are. For those who don't know who Kenny, let's find out who he is. I've known Kenny for a couple of years now. Really great guy, but I want to hear from him, and he can share with you who he is, and then we'll have Adele come on and introduce herself. So welcome, Kenny.
Hi, so I'm Kenny. I'm a influencer online, and I also work for Kiss Beauty Products as their exclusive designer and brand ambassador. Um, I've heard about the thing in Atlanta, and it's very sad. And to me, growing up, I've always been picked on as well. So I know like the Asian bullying or the Asian hate is real. So that's why like in school I always gravitated like towards like black kids because I know how it feels to be disenfranchised. Um, but I think that just us yelling stop the Asian hate crime. I don't believe that it's going to do anything. I believe that yes, creating awareness, but we have to keep doing it. We have to keep making noise. I feel like because we don't make enough noise, that we're always been disregarded and always look at second class citizens. Um, I also feel like we're better in numbers. So I say if you do go out, try to stick to a group. and I do believe in the right to bear arms, and you have the freedom in this country, and I believe that you should take advantage of it.
All right, thank you, brother, for sharing your thoughts. Adele, please come on and give us a little bit about who you are and how you feel about this whole Asian hate thing that's evolving, and then we
Yeah,
dive a little bit deeper into it.
right. Well, my name's Adele Pham. I made the documentary Nailed It. That's how we all know each other through the Vietnamese nail salon industry. Um, I mean, when did Asian hate begin? It's always been there since day one. You know, since the Chinese came here to mine for gold or build our railroads. We forget about the Chinese Exclusion Act of 1888 or 1887. So I feel like us Asians are the perpetual outsiders, especially if you don't speak English. Yeah, and our immigration saga, like many Asians, like Koreans, for example, is tied up in American imperialism and military-industrial complex, which is also a part of white supremacy. I know there's some argument about this guy. What's his name? His three names. Um, Robert Aaron Long. You know, oh, Robert Aaron Long, that's his name. Whether it was a hate crime or not, because he was sexually frustrated, was it, or had a bad day? Um, but when you think about his victims, most of them were Korean, maybe two Chinese. I guess Chinese don't have the same war histories that we have, you know. But you think about the Vietnam War, is inextricably connected to the Korean War. It all had to do with fighting communism in the East. And you know, Chinese have always been discriminated against in this country. Like I said, the Chinese Exclusion Act and all the burnings of all these Chinatowns over the past 2 centuries. So Asian hate's always been here. This is just a rehashing, a manifestation, and kind of like, oh, like an I told you so for all these Asians out here. Like, oh, we really are being hate crimed right now. There is a 1,200% rise in hate crimes against Asians. Like, yeah, that is real, and it's just kind of like manifested itself in this terrible series of tragedies in Georgia. It wasn't just one location; it was three.
My experience over the years, within the nail industry itself, I mean, it's a women-dominated industry, right? And I see the Asian women being abused by so many different people, right? Just hating on them because they can't speak English as fluent, just mocking
Yeah,
them, right? Just men that's it's just
yeah.
everywhere. And then this guy comes in and does this shooting, yet he had a bad day, sexually frustrated, right? And then
Yeah.
the news, the thing
Well, he
is the
said he had a
media.
sexual addiction. I don't think anybody actually wanted to sleep with him. I think that's actually the problem. Somehow it's
Okay,
our
well,
problem.
but
Now
then
it's our problem because like all
that
these
sounds like a
mothers are
personal problem. I mean,
exactly. And I guess
that's
he
a
was like a
personal problem,
Christian
right?
fundamentalist. Like, how is that our problem? But it's our problem because he kills our people. It's like, oh, it's not a hate crime. How is it not a hate crime? He only
I
managed
think
to kill Asian women and their clients. That's a hate crime.
Could it
I
be?
think that
Could he be a serial killer?
Well, he is a serial killer because he killed more than two people. Like, you're a serial killer when you kill three
more
people.
than
I don't
one.
know, whatever it
Yeah.
is. Like, you don't always have to be like writing creepy letters. He is the creepy letter. He's the creep. And these women, like any Vietnamese woman who gives massage at the nail salon, like they have to keep the doors open because of male creeps. If you give massage in this country and you're Asian, and just the way they tainted that whole situation, sorry to like reset the room or whatever, then like he was allowed to give his narrative. And then we thought these were like massage parlors of ill repute because he's a sex addict, allegedly. You know, I've
No,
only gotten massage from Asian people, so I'm like, okay, wow, you've already like tainted this. And then I'm looking at myself like, wow, like that taints the story. How effed up is that too? Like, even if they were sex workers, it wouldn't make it any more right because he was on some weird moral crusade. The whole thing's
I
messed up.
don't think. Yeah, it's not just him. I think it's an overall mentality of this whole pandemic. Really pushed the button and had driven that hate even more towards the Asian community, right? So much more that now that you're just labeled, right? You're just labeled.
Anything. Yeah.
Yeah, you're just labeled whether you're black, yellow, green, orange, blue, purple. if you're of
But Trump
Asian
got our
descent,
own people to vote for him because he said he didn't like China. So that's what these young people don't understand is like we're not even all this monolithic Asian race of people. Not that I even care, but I wonder if he even knew who he was targeting. He was driving a Hyundai, by the way. It's just interesting. People are taking out their frustrations against Chinese in general.
I feel like, this is my opinion. We might be taught to keep our head down, by our parents and just do our thing, but that doesn't mean that we have to, we accept to be the victim of any kind of hate crimes. And even though I'm talking in general, even they're of the community of their own race, like in the Vietnamese communities, there's always prejudiced people who judging their own kind of people, right? The same for any other community, and even for the parents, some of the parents that were growing up, I hear my uncle, my aunts, in the family keep like complaining and saying, calling the kids names and oh you so fat and all of oh you ngô and you ugly and stuff like that. They are the bully, they themselves. That's why I think from there it's kind of like suppress us a lot. And then if we keep being silenced, it's gonna get worse. And I'm so glad that our generation now be able to learn and see what's right, what's wrong, and speak up for ourselves. And I think this can only get better from here. And then I also think that right now it's really hard. And those white supremacists, or like those people who discriminate against Asian people, I think they base on the system that because in the law by law, I think there's no such rule as hate crimes. I believe so. It's really hard to identify what is the hate crime, like what is it that you base on. So that's why it's really hard to identify to have a specific law for hate crime. And a lot of people out there, they are discriminating against other race, using that as an excuse because they know that, oh yeah, I have that power, I can do whatever I want because there's no such law to protect us people like minority or whoever, like any race that got discriminated against. And I feel like that's a problem. So I think that's just my opinion. I feel like we should fight for like have a better category of how hate crime to be identified, so that way it's easier to protect us. And right now it's really hard, right? And I feel like that's a struggle within the for the whole entire country, not just our own community, right?
No, I feel like that's probably the most important point right now. When you look at the legislation, there's very little legislation locally or even federally where someone can be prosecuted for a hate crime and actually spend time in prison for it. It's kind of surprising because you think we had the civil rights movement in the 60s that there'd just be more hate crime legislation, and there's not. So everyone who's listening should really look into the hate crime laws in their own state. They'd probably be surprised at how limited they are.
We should really like, I feel like, as Asian, we are like one of the, largest community in the whole nation, like the USA, but our voice is just so low. Nobody hear our voice because we listen to our parents, as I stated earlier, that we listen to our parents and we, just like be respectful toward everyone, like our friends, our neighbors, and everything like that. But when things happen, oh, let's come into the house, close the door, act like nothing happened, didn't see anything. I think it's time for us to speak up to let other people, other communities, and like hear our voice, so that way, and other people, how it's like a domino effect. When you speak up, your neighbor will be like, oh, he's also Asian, maybe we should speak up too, and then slowly we spread out. But if we keep it to ourselves, and everybody's just like, oh yeah, if she doesn't care, why do I care? And then we just all keep it to ourselves. That's the reason why it takes us so long. It's been a whole year that we finally, especially in California, Orange County, we start to see a little bit of how do you say it, like people like united,
Reunify.
unite, yeah, to like speak up now. And I am so happy to see, and I can't wait to join all of the future events to help the Asian community as much as possible. But slowly in California, slowly we're doing it. I know in New York you guys are doing it too, in Texas. But I would like to see us speak louder and getting bigger and bigger in numbers.
Because of this pandemic. Now, has it happened before the pandemic? Absolutely. Absolutely, it's happened before the pandemic. But the
Right.
pandemic just kind of brought it to life, gave it a new breath of air. Like, hey, now
Yeah.
these Asian people are responsible for the COVID virus. Now, the Chinese virus, right? Of course, it's the Chinese virus. It came from China, right? It
So like,
evolved from China.
what
So
happened
let's
to
put.
Spanish flu? Were people racist towards Spanish people?
No, it was because they didn't evolve in Spain. Did it evolve in Spain, or did they just call it the Spanish flu?
Well, it must have, because they called it the Spanish flu.
Well,
But it's so easy to discriminate against Asians because we really do look different. Like, we're like black people in that way, like our faces.
I think they discriminate against any races discriminate against one another is
They
because
were waiting, people waiting to beat down
they're,
Asian people,
they're
point blank, period. And this,
that's
it's like, yes, people are deprived of everything financially and whatnot because of the pandemic. It's a bad time, but people are also bored.
but
It's really ridiculous.
But his only reason, the only reason you see people just walking
He's
down
bored.
the street and punching people, right? And just punching
Right.
people for
Knockout
Asian
game.
knockout
Yeah.
game for no reason, and not just not Asian people. That now they come up
Old ladies.
now they're targeting Asian people. There's this one girl, she's
Right.
a blogger,
It feels
Korean,
like the
she's a
knockout game with
Korean blogger.
Asians.
oh,
There's
dude,
a
like you're talking about, like they do this sign like with their hands, and if you look at their hand, it punch you.
I
Or
have
they
no
just
idea.
punch you, or they just knock you out for
But
fun.
there's a Korean
Fun
blogger, right?
game.
She's a Korean blogger in Germany, and she does blogging, right? And all of a sudden, there's these German guys come into her blog and just kind of hate on her, making these chinky eyes and making comments, and people like flinching at her like they were gonna punch her. Because why? They had no intentions. They only did it because she was Asian. Right?
Yeah.
And my wife experienced this, right? My wife, of all people, right? She goes to Kroger, does her shopping, and then there's this kid and like wants to like go up to my wife and start some shit, but his dad is right there and don't say nothing. Like wants to call for my wife and stuff, like go back to China and blah blah. My wife, she's
Oh, well,
she's
there's
like,
the generational problem you're talking about, right?
but my
there,
wife
that
was
that
like,
didn't do
my wife,
anything.
she's like a firecracker, man. She's like, what the fuck did you say? My wife like started cussing and like, man, and she's like telling me this and that, and I'm like, no, just calm down,
Pick
like
the wrong.
he's
Yeah,
a kid.
I know.
See, you picked the wrong person, and
Like,
once you pick the wrong
that's
person,
when they picked that old Chinese woman in
you
San
picked the wrong
Francisco,
person. So
and she kicked his ass.
I've always learned, like
My dad
I'm not
was
afraid.
right. I should have, gotten that kung fu doctorate. Like, you do have to know how to defend yourself.
You gotta
around
know
these
how to
people.
defend yourself, and I have all girls, right? I have to teach them to understand the difference between right and wrong, and you raise your kids to learn to love everyone, because you never know that one day you may find that person that you need help on. You may find that one person, that Asian doctor, that Asian nurse, or that paramedic, or that police officer. You may one day find that person that will save your life. Because you have so much hate in your blood, I'm just going to turn a blind eye. But I can't turn a blind eye because I don't have that in my heart.
Yeah.
That's the difference. I don't have that in my heart. The difference is
you would never do something like that.
Exactly. Yeah. I don't have that hate. For those people that do, all we can do is pray for them, right? We have to pray for them, asking, hey, hopefully they'll have a change of heart and understand, and then help the community change. But Asian hate evolved many centuries ago, when the Chinese was here first.
Why can't it be more in dialogue or more in context with other hate crimes against other people of color in this country? I think that's the real wake-up call for Asians, because we've been able to be asleep for this long, in a sense. And what Jade is saying is, like, this is a wake-up call. Like, no, you're not immune from it just because you listen to what your parents said and you're able to play this role in society. You're still not white. And even when violence is perpetrated against us from non-white people, that's still a symptom of white supremacy and how we're separate and how we're different from everybody else. So yeah, I mean, it's just like keeping on speaking up with the people in our immediate communities and teaching our children about what this moment is really about, and protecting yourself.
Yeah, it's a
So
diverse culture.
I have the stories, right? I have this story. So I have some friends back in Minnesota, and they, of course, they are not Asian. And I saw the post the other day on the page, and that person, the male, he posted something, uh, Asian, something about Asian people are doing, like just fine, and like we what do you say, oh, we when we were fighting for Black Lives Matter, there's nowhere, their voice, their voice wasn't there for us, and why do we have to fight for them now? I think it's fine, they're just overthinking.
That's not true.
And that's why I'm like, wow, really, I wanted to
Yeah, and
unfriend
also our
so bad.
generation, that's not true. Like we're
Yeah,
right there too,
and
but we're also like
younger.
taught in our culture like not to speak up too much, not too loud, even if politically, yeah, like we're against hate crimes.
Yeah, and
Yeah,
then another
duh.
girl,
But I
the
think I
gentleman.
also think it's exaggerated that whole oh where were they? They don't stand up for us.
Yeah,
I think
yeah.
I'm gonna
And
speak
it's
for
like,
myself, like we do, but this should be a galvanizing moment for us to see ourselves as people of color proudly, and not accept that we're the victims of these hate crimes because it's not right.
yeah. And then there's other girls, like, I think is his friend came in and say, yeah, that's right. Fuck Asian people and all this. And I'm like, oh, okay, maybe it's time for me to unfriend. I was just about to message, and say, hey, whatever. Because all of the friends that he hang out there, I would say 99.9% are Asian. So when he posted that thing, I guess he just don't want to be friends with Asians anymore. Then, like just some comment like that, it really cause problem and trouble, yeah, raise up a lot of problems. And I just don't know how to deal with that, or I just do it just unfriend because there's no way you can change people's mind or whatever the way they think.
Right. You only have so much time in life,
Yeah. No,
right?
yeah.
And
I'm
for
like,
me,
no,
I'd rather focus on someone who's more positive. Yeah.
that's true. When you deal with ignorance, what can you do? All you do is just ignore them, right? Yeah. And then another thing in California right now is really messed up. Some of my clients said that in their companies, it's like a corporation. Uh, their company will have policy or how to not be black or how to not be white or something like that. And I'm like, that's so wrong. Why do you even have that kind of policy or that kind of like a training? And I feel that's really wrong. I'm gonna ask more question, detail about it. She told me a few months ago. I just forget. I forgot about how the detail is. But I feel like, why, when you do that, you make the problems even more obvious. Why it had to be like that, right? And yeah, it's just very weird.
Can it get better than this, folks? Okay, and how do we get better? And I think Adele and Tan kind of touched it towards the end when they said that we got to start talking about it. We got to start discussing about it, folks. And we, as nail pros, have a great opportunity and are in a great position to do that. When our clients come in, folks, keep in mind, nail salon now, I mean, if you watch the film, the documentary film Nailed It, you will see we are actually a intricate part of the society in America. And the conversation that you have with your clients, folks, just imagine what that can trigger in a environment. Just think about it. If we as nail professionals start talking, asking our clients about what their thoughts on, and what, not only their thoughts, but what their suggestion on how to have it happen less, okay? That's all I can say. I think that by asking them, it will get them to think. And by getting them to think, they might go home and talk to their family about it and their friends about it. And it just happened that maybe one of your client is the mother of a person that just happened to have a bad day, folks. So, folks, it all starts just by opening your mouth and having discussion about it. A real honest discussion about it. A loving discussion about it. All right, folks, on that note, like always, make sure that you share and you follow us, and we look forward to seeing you in 2 weeks, folks. I know this is not going to be the last webcast on this topic. I look forward to having Adele Kenny back, to discuss further topics, all right? Folks, once again, our prayers are out to the family. Make sure that you are safe, protect your family, and take care of yourself. Peace out.